Hi, Corey with Gold Rush Expeditions, and we are out today at another one of our epic mine claims. This is going to be a definite awesome site for somebody that wants to make some money, somebody that's ready to work, and somebody that really has an appreciation for history. You can't really get an appreciation for the desolation of what is out here without being out here. There's probably very few people that understand it when you don't see people for days and you see the work of miners of time gone past that is really the history of our entire American culture. And it's just kind of left out here to rot or to be destroyed by various federal agencies when they find these spots. So to find one that is intact like this and that everything is open and ready to work and, you know, ready to make some new history while preserving what is left here. Let's give you a walk around. We're just at the main workings right here. This is going to be where your head frame is, where they're doing the majority of the ore pulling, which is the purpose of the head frame is just to pull the heaviest of the ores out. So when you see a head frame on someplace, miners weren't dumb. They wanted the easiest, fastest way to get their ore out. So you're either going to have one of two ways. You're going to have a head frame, which is going to make the machine do all the work to pull your ore up and dump it out, and then they can drive it out, or you're going to have a haulage tunnel, which is going to get you somewhere close to a main road, and they're going to shoot out that haulage tunnel, all the ore, because they just have to push a little car, right out, good to go. So where you see a head frame or where you see a massive tunnel with a big dump is where your major ore was coming out of. That's right what we're at here. And I'm going to walk you through the buildings and kind of show you how much was actually done here. Okay, we're going to start your little tour right here. This is a boiler. This is the same thing that you see on steam trains of the era. This is exactly what was used. In fact, we've seen these used for steam trains or taken off steam trains and used here. This would power everything by steam that was going on here. You can see they walled it in here, all hand done. I mean, this kind of work is just epic and amazing and awesome. Everything's these huge steel rivets, super cool. A lot of this that you're seeing coming down is probably just local people just screwing with stuff. Honestly, the ranchers, the cowboys that are out here that are like, hey, you should kick the shit out of that, that's awesome. But that's what happens to this kind of stuff. It also just kind of naturally erodes. There's another boiler here that's fully concreted in, and the full concreting was honestly on the just in case. It was a, you know, in case the boiler blows up, in case something happens. Yeah, it's a big freaking bomb as it is, but if you can contain some of that and compress it, then maybe not everybody will die. And that's not like a morbid thought. It's just that guys back in the day weren't and they realized that when they were out here, there's probably a good chance that they were going to get killed by something, but they weren't like, oh my God, I need my workman's comp because, yeah, that's scary. They were just manly and they were like, yeah, we might die today, but we might make $1 million today. So let's continue on. So things get destroyed pretty quickly out here, and you can see, I'm not going to be able to get this all the way in without some serious work, but you've got a window here that the hinges and framing are all still in place here. Pretty awesome. Instead of letting it rot on the ground, I'm going to move it up here because maybe that next claim owner will want to do something with it. This room was used to store their core samples. As you can see, there are core samples all over the ground. What is a core sample? A core sample is something that came around a little later in mining, and basically you would go down with a large diamond drill. You'd punch a big hole with a round bit like this, and that would bring all the rock up and out. That way you could see in those big cylinders of rock that you'd get out, kind of what kind of ore you were going to punch through, what you were looking at, where veins were. Really common and produced thousands and thousands of core samples. Core samples are really not going to be worth too terribly much unless they are shot full of gold, and if they're shot full of gold, chances are the miners took them off. So there is another piece right here that I just noticed that is a imprint of probably an oven that was sitting right here, some sort of smelter sitting right up against. So next is going to be the heart of your mine, as it were. This is what made everything go. So you can see, anybody recognize what this is? What's that? Oh, look at that. It's an old mechanical fuel pump. We've talked before a little bit about how miners would bring cars up and then just use them to power what they were doing, power their winch, power whatever. I don't know if it makes a whole lot of sense, but if you look at how this is laid out, This is an old flathead 4 motor. So that puts you, you know, somewhere in your 40s, 50s, 60s. This was gutted directly out of a car. They left the transmission in place, put a U-joint right here, and connected it up to run their winch. If you can see this, you've still got, well, let's see if we can engage a clutch here. Nope. Oh, there we go, look at that. So with this, you would have probably had a first, second, maybe third and fourth, but they actually utilized this transmission for speeds for this winch, which is totally rad. This is cut directly out of the car, no other modification. You've got a gas pedal here, and you've got a clutch where that was somewhere in here. The spring is still there, but that would have given you your power. You've still got the gauge here from the old car that was cut right in, which would give you all your oil pressure, your temperature, everything else. Super cool. You've got the winch here. You've still got a brake. Somebody busted off your hand brake that was here, but your cable's still all spooled to your head frame. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So in the heart of everything, we talked about the steam boilers that were powering everything. What do you have in mind? You have track, you have ore cars, you have a bunch of big steel shit that you're not going to be able to put together with a couple of nails and a piece of wood. I mean, you'll put some stuff, but the stuff that you really need to stay together that's going to save your life, you're going to do in a blacksmith shop. That's exactly what this is. This is an old forge right here, and there's a few things going on here. There's probably some, you can see there's a pipe here, something coming underneath to power some of that, to give it a little whoosh, so that you could, you know, bend your track, do other things, make your tools, do your drill bits. You've got an exhaust port right there. Right here, this is basically an anvil. You might see the big anvils that you see that people are like, ah, that's what we use for da-da-da. Well, you'd get an anvil on this, but in the poor days, before you had a lot of money and you just needed to do some working, you would basically just use your stump as an anvil. That is something that you could put your piece of track on with your hot piece of iron and start pounding it and get a bend off the side of it. Kind of the way it was done. There probably was an anvil here, but somebody's stolen it. There's also a massive, massive piece of track over here that is seriously sunk down for some reason. I can't really explain exactly what's going on, but it kind of shows what kind of track is inside the mine too. Very, very cool. Probably the biggest detriment to mining that we see today is nobody is familiar with doing it. They don't understand it. It's this big, ambiguous, oh my goodness, I don't know what it is. Well, guess what? The guys that came out here and originally worked really had no idea what they were doing either. What they did is they came out and they said, we want gold. This is what we want to do. So let's figure out what the f we need to do to make it happen. This is the same thing that you probably have in your garage. A nice little workbench. You got your little buckets for your screws, your bolts, your whatever. And this is what would happen out here. Steve would bring in a drill bit and say, hey, I busted a drill bit. We still need to go down. Bob would come up here and maybe he had some blacksmith knowledge, maybe not. He would do his little thing. He'd probably come over here with his little tools and be like, all right, I'll hammer some of this out. I'll do some of this, just like you do in the garage. And then they would go and they would continue their production. And guess what? They learned as they went along and they made money and they made history out here. So don't be afraid to get out here. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. And don't be afraid that you don't know everything. The only way you learn is by getting out here and putting your feet into it. All right, so we're back here at the back of the mine workings. I call it the back because you've got your shaft over here. This is your main workings where everything was coming up and out. We have got digs, old adits that have collapsed, massive waste piles, and you can see right down there, we have another shaft that runs down about 80 feet before it hits water. It's fully collared, fully timbered all the way down, and you can see, if you can see that line running out there, that's a big old iron water line, and it was pumping water and pushing it way out down to the bottom. This wash that you can see down there has gotten a lot of water, and I guarantee you a pile of it came out of that mine shaft right there. So there you have it. We kind of wrapped up this site here. You've seen what there is to see. Go to our website, you'll see all the underground surveys. You'll see what's underneath this. You'll see how much gold came out of it. And you'll get your opportunity to purchase this and start working it. Start making your own history and turn this back into, you know, the big gold mine that it used to be. Make yourself a millionaire, have some fun with it. So For Gold Rush Expeditions, I'm Corey. We'll see you at the next site.